Every single day, without even realizing it, you are being maneuvered like a piece on a chessboard. At work, in your closest relationships, even in matters of the heart, there are people who manipulate your decisions, shape your emotions, and steer your path while you remain blind to their control. The individuals society often celebrates as geniuses are rarely born with extraordinary gifts. What sets them apart is their mastery of manipulation, an ability to bend perception and craft outcomes in their favor. They obey laws of influence so obscure, so ruthless, and so effective that most people would rather pretend they don't exist. But these laws are very real, and the ones who wield them never leave their futures to chance. They design their rise deliberately, while the rest of the world stumbles in the dark. Power doesn't fall into the laps of the talented or the hard-working. It is built with calculation, sharpened through discipline, and enforced with unflinching precision. A compliment, a glance, a well-timed silence, none of it is casual. Everything is chosen to tilt the balance of control. While the masses cling to myths of fairness, morality, and honesty, those who dominate see these illusions for what they are: tools. And with those tools, they climb higher while others cling to the ground, waiting for rewards that will never come. Understand this truth: power is not destiny, it is construction. It is forged like a weapon. The powerful are not anointed by fate, they crown themselves. The blueprint of power is not built on kindness or faith in others. It thrives on strategy, on manipulation, on the relentless pursuit of advantage. Rivals are not equals, they are obstacles. Friends, allies, even family are not immune. They become instruments of your ascent if you know how to position them. To wait patiently for recognition is to accept defeat before the game even begins. Power does not belong to those who deserve it. It belongs to those willing to seize it, to shape it, to be dangerous enough to hold it. Today, I will expose the shadows, 15 of the darkest laws of power, the unspoken codes that the ambitious use to rise while the naive are crushed beneath them. The first law strikes at the root of control: never reveal your true intentions. To share your strategy is to hand someone the very knife they can use against you. Transparency is not a virtue in the pursuit of power, it is a weakness. History bleeds with lessons. Julius Caesar, brilliant as he was, trusted Brutus, unveiled too much of his vision, and paid with betrayal and death on the Ides of March. His openness cost him everything. Compare this to Napoleon, who misled enemies by faking weakness, luring them into false confidence before crushing them without mercy. Or Otto von Bismarck, who manipulated entire nations with veils of secrecy, ensuring his plans were invisible until victory was guaranteed. Even in our modern world, figures like Steve Jobs concealed every product and move until the moment of revelation, leaving competitors scrambling in confusion. The principle is undeniable. Ordinary people overshare, extraordinary leaders mislead. Predictability is a cage, invisibility is armor. Power grows in the shadows where others cannot anticipate your strike. The second law demands a ruthlessness many cannot stomach. Never leave an enemy half-beaten. Mercy in the struggle for dominance is not kindness, it is a fatal mistake. Alexander the Great understood this. When he conquered, he annihilated armies, dethroned leaders, and erased the possibility of rebellion. His victories were not partial, they were absolute, which is why his empire endured. Sulla of Rome applied the same brutal clarity. After civil war, he purged every rival, ensuring that no shadow of rebellion remained to haunt him. History's monarchs and dictators learned that sparing a rival's life or ambition is to guarantee your own eventual downfall. This truth extends beyond kings and generals. In every arena of competition, business, politics, influence, any adversary left standing, becomes a ticking time bomb. Hesitation is the soil in which rebellion grows. Power demands completeness. Elimination is not cruelty, it is preservation. It is survival through totality. The third law exposes a quieter, subtler form of dominance: make others dependent on you. The person who cannot function without your support will never truly oppose you. Dependency is invisible chains binding others to your will. Cardinal Richelieu wielded this law flawlessly. He designed France's political system so that nobles owed their influence, wealth, and survival to his favor. Any attempt to act against him meant self-destruction. The Medici family, rulers of Florence, built networks of dependency so intricate that no figure of significance could rise without their approval. When people rely on your money, your protection, your opportunities, they transform from potential rivals into unwilling allies. Resentment may burn within them, but rebellion becomes impossible when their survival is tied to you. Strategic generosity, selective assistance, and carefully distributed opportunities all forge invisible shackles. Control through dependency is dominance without violence, power without scars. Scarcity amplifies value, and this forms the fourth law. Absence strengthens influence. Constant presence breeds familiarity, and familiarity breeds contempt. But when you withhold yourself, your presence becomes an event. Your words carry weight. Your gestures resonate like thunder. Elizabeth I of England embodied this perfectly. She allowed no casual access to her, no careless intimacy. Her rare appearances inspired awe and uncertainty, giving her every move disproportionate power. Roman emperors, too, understood the art of controlled visibility. They emerged only when it suited them, shrouded in mystery, their presence an unpredictable force. When you are rare, you are unforgettable. When you are scarce, you are valued. A leader too visible invites criticism. A leader who cultivates absence becomes untouchable. Strategic withdrawal is not retreat, it is a sharpening of presence. It transforms you into a figure larger than life, one who is always anticipated, never ignored. The fifth law is reputation. In the realm of power, reputation is more precious than armies, more enduring than gold. Once your image is damaged, strength, wealth, and influence crumble with it. Catherine de' Medici understood this, meticulously curating her image as cunning and authoritative, ensuring that perception itself was her strongest weapon. Roman generals recognized that victories alone were not enough. The illusion of invincibility mattered more than the facts of the battlefield. Reputation is not passive. It must be defended actively, guarded against whispers, dismantled attacks, and silenced rumors. Those who ignore even small slights see them magnified into dangerous cracks. But those who defend their reputation with ferocity wield a shield that intimidates rivals and inspires loyalty. Reputation shapes every interpretation of your actions. It is the lens through which allies, rivals, and crowds view you. Guard it relentlessly, for once perception collapses, power evaporates with it. The sixth law: never forget that logic persuades few, while emotion commands the masses. Human beings are not ruled by reason, but by fear, desire, envy, and pride. Cleopatra ensnared rulers not with arguments, but with allure, charisma, and emotional seduction. Cicero moved entire assemblies by invoking the pride of Rome or fear of chaos. Knowing facts alone could never achieve the same sway. To manipulate emotions is to control decisions before they are even questioned. Fear can drive obedience. Vanity can secure loyalty. Envy can spark rivalries that serve your interest. Logic can be debated, but emotion bypasses resistance. The leader who can provoke awe, incite fear, or inspire desire holds power invisible yet unshakable. The seventh law warns against predictability. To be predictable is to be controllable. The strongest figures in history maintained mystery, shifting loyalties, changing strategies, ensuring no one could anticipate their true path. The Medici thrived by never letting allies or rivals take their allegiance for granted. Roman emperors thrived by keeping generals guessing, never revealing what came next. The unpredictable leader forces others to live in uncertainty, to remain cautious, to react instead of acting. Fear of the unknown becomes a leash. Ambiguity becomes leverage. When others cannot guess your next move, they are already defeated. And then there is timing, the eighth law. Even the sharpest blade is useless if it strikes too early or too late. Power is not only about what you do, but when you do it. To dominate, you must sense the rhythm of events, the mood of people, and the shifting tides of opportunity. Those who rise understand the value of waiting for the precise moment, then striking with speed and force. Premature action is waste, delayed action is weakness, perfect timing is supremacy. These laws, dark as they are, reveal the truth hidden beneath the surface of society. The world pretends to honor fairness, honesty, and hard work, but it rewards secrecy, ruthlessness, and manipulation. To understand these laws is to see the world as it is, not as we wish it to be. And to master them is to ensure that you no longer stumble blindly, waiting for rewards that will never arrive. Power is not fate, it is built. It is seized. It is defended with blood, patience, and strategy. Those who wield it are not chosen by destiny. They choose themselves. Julius Caesar did not gamble when he led his army across the Rubicon. His march was not reckless, but perfectly calibrated to Rome's inner turmoil. By choosing that precise moment, he transformed what could have been dismissed as rebellion into a masterstroke that altered history itself. His timing created inevitability. In the same spirit, Napoleon never launched campaigns blindly. He advanced or delayed, depending on the seasons, the morale of his troops, and the fractured emotions of his adversaries. His genius was not only in strategy but in ensuring opponents were forever reacting to him, never dictating the tempo themselves. Timing is not merely about calendars, it is psychological. Act too early and you appear desperate or reckless. Move too slowly and you look timid, a leader without conviction. But to strike at the perfect moment is to create the illusion that events themselves bend to your will. When actions unfold with precision, they seem, in retrospect, inevitable, as though the world had been waiting for you to move. Timing determines not just victories in war, but triumphs in politics, business, negotiation, even in personal alliances. Knowing when to step forward, when to hold back, and when to disappear entirely is what separates those who stumble from those who dominate. The careless squander timing and find rivals already entrenched ahead of them. The master waits, and when the world is ripe, bends it effortlessly to his design. While timing defines when to act, results establish what cannot be questioned. Words can be twisted, debated, or ignored, but deeds remain undeniable. Influence does not cement itself through persuasion alone. It is anchored by visible achievement, by outcomes that silence all doubts. Alexander the Great never wasted breath arguing his right to rule. Instead, he carried his ambition across continents, subduing kingdoms and standing upon the ashes of empires. His victories spoke louder than any proclamation, transforming skepticism into reverence and resistance into obedience. The Roman legions learned the same lesson. Authority did not come from speeches in the Senate, but from victories on the battlefield and the spoils dragged home. Rhetoric fades, action reverberates. A leader who delivers results creates an aura of inevitability, making his critics look small and his doubters foolish. Even the loudest detractor is forced into silence when confronted with unshakable proof. In every sphere of life, governance, negotiation, commerce execution eclipses discussion. Those who delay, who drown in persuasion, allow adversaries to seize the initiative and dictate the narrative. The world does not crown the most eloquent. It crowns the one who acts. To rule is to carve your will into reality with decisions that cannot be undone. Let others argue while your results write history. Power belongs not to the persuasive, but to the decisive. But power is fragile if those around you poison it. Who stands beside you defines how the world perceives you, which is why associations form the next crucial law. Misfortune, weakness, and instability are contagious, and those who link themselves to failures invite ruin. Savvy rulers always surround themselves with competence, stability, and loyalty, while ruthlessly severing ties with the unstable. King Louis of France exemplified this principle, refusing to ally with those whose recklessness or incompetence could compromise his authority. He partnered only with those whose strength magnified his own. The Caesars and emperors of Rome likewise distanced themselves from senators or generals whose ambition burned too brightly or whose recklessness might fracture the empire's fragile order. The weak do not simply fail on their own, they drag down everyone tied to them. To associate with incompetence is to inherit its inevitable collapse. Conversely, proximity to reliable and capable allies extends your reach, reinforces your credibility, and multiplies your strength. Beyond simple alliances, this truth shapes reputation itself. You are judged by the company you keep. To appear surrounded by fools or the unlucky is to be marked as careless, perhaps even complicit. Wise leaders curate their circle as carefully as they plan their strategies. They elevate themselves by aligning with strength and discarding weakness before it infects their own image. In the theater of power, reputation is not built alone. It is a reflection of those allowed to stand beside you. Choose poorly, and you collapse under the weight of another's failures. Choose wisely, and your authority becomes untouchable. Control does not always require force. Often, it thrives through illusion. People cherish the feeling of choice, even when the options are deliberately engineered to serve another's advantage. This is the essence of strategic manipulation, shaping the battlefield so that no matter what others decide, their path leads back to you. The Medici dynasty understood this with surgical precision. They offered merchants, nobles, and rivals choices that seemed free, but were carefully rigged to sustain Medici supremacy. Marriages, trade agreements, and political alignments all looked voluntary, yet every outcome secured loyalty or dependence. Roman emperors played the same game. Senators debated, generals proposed, factions fought, but the framework of their choices always funneled power back to the emperor's throne. By limiting the range of options, a ruler dissolves the possibility of true rebellion. Rivals act thinking they have asserted themselves, unaware they have only reinforced the architect's will. The psychology here is simple but devastating. People resist domination, but they welcome choice. By disguising control as freedom, a leader achieves compliance without struggle. This applies in every negotiation, alliance, or conflict. Define the boundaries, set the stage, and let others move within it as though by their own design. Control through options is subtle yet absolute. The cage is invisible, but it holds just as firmly, and when others believe they chose their own path, they defend it more fiercely, even when it binds them. Yet influence is not built only through control and fear. At times, the deadliest weapon is trust. Selective honesty, or carefully timed generosity, can disarm suspicion, lure adversaries into complacency, and open gates that force could never breach. People are wary by nature. They expect deception, which is why, paradoxically, the rare act of truth or kindness becomes an overwhelming tool of manipulation. Henry IV of France wielded this brilliantly. By confessing minor faults or extending generosity at precise moments, he lulled nobles into believing in his sincerity, only to strike decisively when they least expected. Roman commanders did the same, sparing enemies selectively to create a sense of mercy, binding the spared with gratitude or debt. Honesty, when rare and deliberate, creates the illusion of reliability. Generosity, when calculated, inspires loyalty, admiration, and confusion simultaneously. The effect is psychological. Suspicion weakens, defenses crumble, and compliance rises. But overuse ruins the tactic. A leader who appears too generous is branded naive, and insincerity is quickly unmasked. The art lies in precision. A single act of benevolence can destabilize an enemy's caution, inspire devotion in an ally, or win a crowd. True power often thrives in deception cloaked by sincerity. Trust becomes a weapon. Gratitude becomes leverage. And the leader who wields honesty sparingly but strategically bends hearts and minds as effortlessly as empires bend to armies. But even generosity has limits. The deepest lever of influence is not kindness, nor loyalty, nor gratitude. It is self-interest. Morality can be ignored. Gratitude fades. But ambition and desire endure. The cunning understand this. Align your own goals with what others want most, and they will serve you willingly, even enthusiastically. Catherine de' Medici practiced this principle with ruthless elegance. She brokered alliances not by promising virtue, but by offering her peers tangible gains: wealth, titles, influence, or survival. Roman leaders appealed to their soldiers not with lofty ideals of Rome, but with promises of plunder, promotions, and land. They did not demand loyalty. They bought it through ambition. This principle transcends politics. In business, negotiation, and even personal bonds, people act reliably only when they see advantage for themselves. The leader who cloaks cooperation in morality or friendship is at the mercy of shifting loyalties. But the leader who offers undeniable benefit anchors obedience to ambition, make alignment profitable, and betrayal becomes illogical. People will act against their own ethics, even against their peers, if their gain is secure. This is why appeals to self-interest are the most reliable engine of influence. Gratitude falters, self-interest persists. By tying your strategy to the desires of others, you transform them into agents of your own will. They believe they are serving themselves, when in truth, they are advancing your power. Knowledge is the lifeblood of survival. To rule blindly is to invite destruction. The strongest leaders gather intelligence relentlessly, not only from enemies but from allies, confidants, even friends. Appearances deceive, loyalty falters, ambition festers in silence. Only those who listen more than they speak, who extract information under the guise of camaraderie, can anticipate betrayal before it strikes. Louis of France mastered this craft, weaving a network of spies and informants, while maintaining the illusion of friendship with nobles and foreign powers. They spoke freely in his presence, unaware that every whisper returned to him. Roman emperors likewise ensured that spies moved through courts and barracks alike, reporting every disloyal thought. The principle is both simple and brutal. Trust no one completely, but appear to trust everyone. The mask of friendship grants access. The role of confidant disarms suspicion. Behind this facade, every conversation, every alliance, every encounter becomes an opportunity to gather leverage. The more you know, the less you are surprised. Rivals stumble because they act on appearances. The powerful dominate because they act on truth. Information is a double-edged sword. It shields you from betrayal and arms you for decisive strikes. In the ruthless game of power, ignorance is not weakness, it is death. Those who pose as allies but act as watchers remain untouchable because no threat emerges unseen. To control knowledge is to control outcomes. And so we arrive at the most merciless of lessons. In power, endings matter more than beginnings. Starting a campaign, forging an alliance, even launching a rebellion, these are meaningless if left unfinished. Loose ends fester, and every unfinished task becomes a seed of resistance. Domination is not secured through intention but through closure. A rival half-defeated rises again. A policy half-implemented crumbles. An enemy half-silenced returns louder. To maintain control, matters must not merely be initiated, they must be finished with finality. Only then is power preserved. No ambition can truly be secured if it is left unfinished. Every lingering alliance, unsettled rivalry, or ignored betrayal is a future weapon that can be used against you. The shrewdest rulers recognize that enduring authority is built not on beginnings but on definitive endings. Power requires finality. Julius Caesar mastered this truth. After his triumph in Gaul, he did not assume gratitude would protect him. Instead, he restructured the conquered lands, appointed reliable governors, and dismantled threats before they could take shape. His brilliance lay not only in conquest, but in eliminating uncertainty. Augustus followed the same path, designing systems of succession, tightening administration, and denying rivals even the smallest opening to exploit. Their strength came from foresight and the discipline to leave nothing half-resolved. Unfinished matters are more dangerous than open threats, for they fester in silence until the right moment arrives. A wise strategist never allows that. Closure can be brutal or subtle, sometimes through the sword, other times through careful deals that leave no room for rebellion. What matters is that every move ends with clarity. Leaders who finish strongly project unshakable confidence. Allies grow secure in their loyalty, enemies hesitate, and the uncertain fall in line. Hesitation, by contrast, breeds doubt and tempts rivals to act. A true architect of power knows that even small tasks demand resolution. Finality transforms fleeting wins into enduring dominance, ensuring your influence echoes long after the immediate battle is over. To rule is not merely to act, it is to conclude with precision,